you and me. God walks the dark hills to guide my footsteps. He walks everywhere, by night and by day. He walks through the twilight to guide my footsteps. God walks the dark hills to show me the way. Show me the way. All right.
All right. See? Nobody ever know you messed up. That was awesome.
That's all. It's me. I was wondering if after all these years you'd like to meet to go over everything. They
Boogaloo's. That's right, that's right. That's Deborah Dillon. That's right, yeah. All right, how about Tanya? Go ahead.
Gladly walk across the desert with no shoes on my feet to share with you the
I was so thrilled years ago when I went to Maryland and found family history everywhere in Maryland. That's where they began after Scotland, and found our 10th great-grandfather, who is Captain John Beauty, who was the first musician in the American colonies in Jamestown in 1619. And he happened to play the fiddle. In fact, they called him a fiddler. But he was also the first rebel in the colonies. And you can pull up online and read all about your grandfather, Captain John Beauty. So when I found that out, and my son being the violinist, it was a thrill to me. So 10 generations later, here we are. And then I just want to say another thing. My dad really never talked much, any about family or his childhood or mother or dad or anything. But he was a tease, like most, I think all the Kennards were. And I used to sing. I don't sing anymore, and you'll find that out. But one time I went to church with him. We were visiting. We went to church with him, Baptist church with him. And he walks into the chapel, and immediately there's this man standing at the choir loft, and he just went right up to him and said, "I bet my daughter can sing higher than your daughter." And I was so embarrassed. But, you know, that's just kind of the things that he did. But anyway, I just wanted to do a little poem. And the reason I'm choosing this one is, and I might get a little chilly, when I think about our grandparents and what they went through with the Dust Bowl and Black Sunday and the Depression, and how Eula was just, and I call Eula's just left with 13 kids, no money, no nothing. And I feel really bad, and I do want to say this right now because I never really studied about Black Sunday and all that they went through and what he died of. And I had been told by my cousin Randy that grandmother had just kind of put them on their own. And I will have to say that I kind of blamed her through all these years, thinking, why would she just desert her kid, put them out on their own? Because that's the way it was explained to me. And when I read, and so when I saw the film that she put on, I realized that I owe a great apology to our grandmother, because, you know, I get scared when there's a bug on the wall. And with the grasshoppers and all the plagues that they had during the Dust Bowl, and all, I realized how hard their life must have been. And she did say, if you've read the little paragraph that she wrote, if many of you read that, it meant a lot to me to read that. And she witnessed in there that the Lord helped her through the times that she could get through it. And so I just wanted to do a little poem, and Scott's going to do the background for me, okay? If I can remember it, I'm nervous. And in the dark sky above me were flashes of my life scenes. And after each event and scene, I noticed that there were 2 sets of footprints in the sand. Then when the last scene appeared, I turned to look at the footsteps in the sand, and there was only 1 set of footprints. And that bothered me. And so I thought, I'm going to ask the Lord about this. So I did. I said, Father, you promised me that if I would follow you would never leave me. You would always be there for me. And I don't understand. I've noticed that during the hardest times of my life, there's only been 1 set of footprints. And I just don't understand how you could leave me. And the Lord looked at me and said, my precious child, I love you, and I will never leave you in the hardest times of your life. And when you look back and you see 1 set of footprints, That's when I was carrying you.
my name is Charity Kay. This is my husband, William. We are here not because we are related to the family in any way, but because of the house that I live in, which was built by Dr. William Kennard. So that would be a relative to your family. So Tony was nice enough to ask me to come by and say a couple of words. I did bring a few pictures that I'll have back there at the table that I'm setting out if anybody is interested in seeing. But the house was built in 1880. Of course, he came from Alabama and then wound up moving first to Cameron and then to Rockdale. And he was a physician for our small little community. He later became the mayor of Rockdale, or one of many mayors of Rockdale. And him and his wife, Josie, I do believe that was her name, Josie, they were not able to have any children, though if I understand correctly, they did raise
James Pinckney.
James
Pinckney, our great-grandfather.
So their grandfather.
Great-grandfather.
You know, we really needed an illustration with the family tree.
We have a lot of James Pinckneys, okay?
A lot of James Pinckneys. Anybody who has done genealogy, even on an amateur basis, kind of like myself, knows that you'll wind up, good case in point, William Charles Stanley Kay. His father's name was also the same. His uncle's name was also the same with the middle name swapped around. It'll make a genealogist crazy. But it went from Mr. Kennard. At some point, him and Josie moved out. And then it became in the ownership of H.D. Meyer, who was also a mayor of Rockdale for a while. And at some point, I lose track of the history of the home. I really need to go up and do a little bit of research, title research, to find out where the house went between, let's say, the 1930s to the 1950s. Now, I do know around the middle of the 1950s, it was bought by a corporation. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with, but anybody from here in Rockdale will be, and that would be Alcoa. Alcoa purchased the home around the mid-1950s. My grandfather was a manager out at Alcoa. My father also worked out at Alcoa. Both of them retired. And Alcoa closed, depending on who you ask, let's say 2009 to 2011, just depending on what position you were in. But they had turned it from a single-family dwelling to another picture that I have that I will show you, which is a dormitory setup. When my grandfather purchased it from them, they had turned it into, let's say, 6 apartments. I'm assuming that it was in the style of a shared kitchen and maybe a shared bathroom, but had 6 separate apartments. And when my grandfather received the house or purchased the house, he spent the rest of his life trying to turn the home into a single-family dwelling again. The Rockdale Reporter, I want to say maybe 2009 to 2010 or 11, did a story in the newspaper called A Labor of Love. It can be Googled if you're interested. And it was an interview that they did with my grandfather talking about from the time that he purchased the home until up to that point in time, the changes that he had made, the way that he tried to bring it back to being his family home. My father grew up in that home, went to Rockdale High School, graduated, and then joined the Marine Corps and went on to Vietnam. After Vietnam, he left Rockdale and wound up coming back, let's say early 90s. And that home was always kind of his childhood home. So when my grandfather passed away, my dad decided to purchase the home from the estate, his sisters. And he moved into the home and lived there maybe 8 months with his second group of kids, because my dad was a player that way. So I am 40, and I have 3 siblings who are 18, 19, and 20. When my dad passed away in June of 2015, he left me with my family home that I grew up in, which is on the opposite side of Rockdale, and he gave the big house to Gavin, Andrew, and Jaden, my siblings. And they lived there until about 14 months ago, when they decided that they were going to go to college, the big city of Rockdale really wasn't their cup of tea anymore. They were ready to get out and expand themselves. So they came to me and said, "Hey, Sissy, would you like to buy the home?" Said, "Of course. When you see the pictures, you'll understand." "Yes, I'll buy the house, you bet." I said, "Good," because we were going to rip out doors and windows and turn it into one of those modern style homes. I said, "When y'all leaving?" Either way, I then purchased the home, and I want to say it was about 2 months later when this wonderful woman just turned up on my doorstep. Knock, knock, knock. My son answered the door. I do not know what the exchange was, but I know he popped his head in and he said, "Somebody, I don't know." I came to the door. She explained who she was, gave me her little bit of history, and me being me, I could talk for hours on this home. So I brought her in. Me and my husband gave her a tour. The house consists of a front parlor. It's got a really nice, cute little foyer. And then a front parlor where Dr. William Kennard saw patients. The article that I was telling you about goes into greater detail on that, but we can still tell exactly where he had his bed set up, exactly where he saw patients. There was an outside entrance that no longer exists so that the patients could come in this side of the porch and be in the house without having free run in the home. There are some sliding doors that kind of close that area off from the rest of the house. There's a formal dining. There's a kitchen, a back living room. We've got 3 fireplaces. Upstairs, we've got 5 bedrooms. Really, it's 4 because I took one and turned it into my library because I'm a nerd. I like to read. Then the 3rd floor. There's also mention of the 3rd floor in lots of different articles from the Rockdale Reporter. As you can imagine, Dr. William Kennard, as well as H.D. Meyer, did a lot of entertaining. The 3rd floor is set up as a ballroom, or at least that's what they refer to it as. It's basically a big open area similar to this, and there's a dormer on each side wall with a little alcove for setting. And so that's where they would entertain. They would have live Victrola bands up there, and that's where they would do their entertaining. I'm pretty sure for my younger siblings, that was just a game and play area. I want to say that same day when Tony stopped by, she was also talking about where her ancestors were laid to rest. One of those being the IOOF cemetery. I don't know if it may be a little macabre for you guys, but you do have relatives buried here in Rockdale in very close proximity if anybody's interested in going out and saying hello before you leave town. As an amateur genealogist, graveyards are kind of my thing. So I told her exactly where she could find both Josie and Dr. William Kennard. That way she could go out and pay her respects. It was pretty easy for me because it's the same place that my grandparents and my father is buried. So this house has been in my particular family, even though we were one of the last ones to get it, I would say the longest. It's been with us for about 70 years now. So that kind of wraps up my little spew about the house and what it means to me. I think you had wanted me to touch on some memories, no? Yes. As a child, my biggest memory would be Christmas. If you can imagine having a house that's somewhat grand, Christmas is a theme. And for both of my grandparents, Christmas was a theme. So in the front foyer, grandmother would set up all the lights, and in the front living room, or the parlor, is where they would put the tree. Ceilings are very tall, so the tree was very tall. And Granddad always loved trains. So we would have a train set that went around the tree. So my fondest young memory, or childhood memory, would be of Christmases there. My family is much smaller. My father had 2 sisters, Patricia and Diana. And so it wasn't necessarily a big gathering, but it was always a warm gathering. In contrast, as an adult, my greatest memory would probably be the last time I saw my grandfather. My grandmother and grandfather both lived in the house up until their deaths. So my grandmother had already passed in 2010, and I had stopped by with my 2 youngest sons to see him whenever I came to town to see my dad. And you can't knock on these doors and wait for a response, because you're going to be waiting forever. I promise, you're not hearing anything. Granddad didn't have a doorbell, so I just walked in, and he was all the way to the back, which is actually the front. We entered through the back of the house instead of the front main door. And he's sitting in his little chair in the living room, and he's got what amounts to the pedals on a bicycle, but it's just the bottom part. And he's sitting there watching the news and working his legs out on the pedal bike. And I'm thinking, this man is 92 years old. Look at him getting at it. He was up and down the stairs, 3 flights, constantly, all the way up until he was 92. I think it was a week later, he was like, not feeling too good, let me go to the doctor. Went to Scott and White Temple. They said we need to do a bypass. Stayed overnight so he could have it the next morning and didn't make it. He passed away sometime during the night. But when you think about a life led, I think my grandmother made it to 87, 88, both of them together. Another memory, as a child, I got to go upstairs one time, only once. My grandmother was one of those women, don't touch it, don't touch it. I found out my grandparents had separate bedrooms. To me, that was the oddest thing I've ever seen in my life. My mom and dad had a room together. My grandparents had separate bedrooms. I asked my grandfather, because you don't ask grandma these things, why do you have separate bedrooms? He said, because we've been married 60 years. Okay, got it. So at some point, I guess we'll have separate bedrooms. It was great to meet y'all all.
I do have to ask you, did y'all ever play hide and go seek? And if so, where was your favorite place to hide?
You didn't listen when I said Grandma said we can't touch nothing. The only place we played anywhere was outside. Now they did have a swimming pool. You know, we thought my grandparents were rich. Not only they had this big old house, but they had a swimming pool. We had the little kiddie pool. But we would play outside, not inside.
Okay. Are there some trees on the property? I did want to ask, do you happen to know how much land was there originally? I know there's a carriage house, and now it's been converted into a house, and some investor has bought the house, and they're refurbishing it to rent out, from what I understand. I don't know if that's true. But I was wondering, do you know how much land was originally with the home?
Well, given the time frame that the house was built versus the time frame that Rockdale started, I believe that the property has always been maybe 4 lots. If I could change anything, it would be location, not because I don't love Rockdale, but because a house like this really, to make it perfect, would need to be out on, I don't know, maybe 750 acres somewhere. But if you ever drive by, there's a little white house right next to mine. And I do know originally the property went all the way to the corner where the firehouse is. But at some point in time, somebody took that white house, which still looks the same as it originally did, was the carriage house to my house. So it was part of that property. And at some point that did get divided. And somebody purchased the home, and I do believe that it's kind of a macabre story for Rockdale, but the gentleman died in the home, and I guess he didn't have close friends or family, so nobody knew for quite some time. I want to say 2 or 3 weeks, and eventually somebody notified authorities, and they showed up, and after that it stayed in the state's hands for decades. My grandfather always wanted to acquire that house and make it part of the original property again, but he wasn't able to do that. It wound up going up for sale for back taxes, which I was unaware of. But you are correct, an investor bought it, and I believe they're going to turn that into a rental home. Kind of leads credence to me of why I'm glad I got the house when I did. Had I not, they would have put it up for sale. And I just couldn't imagine another company, another corporation, or another individual who would not appreciate the history and the life behind that house getting it. It sounds funny, but I'm one of those people, even though it's just a house, it's just an inanimate object, to me it feels like a person. It feels like something that I could talk to you. Tell me your stories. It doesn't work that way, but that's what it feels like to me. So to see somebody get it and tear it down or change it just wasn't acceptable. It wouldn't have mattered what it cost. I would have found some way.
Wonderful. We're so impressed. Thank you so very, very much, both of you, and for all the hard work you do. You're a craftsman, so can I interview you for a moment? Can you tell me? Oh, okay. Here's the microphone. I'm not very good. What have you been? You've been working on what? I know y'all been working a lot on the house, but what are you working on right now?
The front parlor.
The front parlor. Okay. It's a beautiful work. Go ahead.
We can kind of tell who the outgoing one is of the group. He keeps me reined in. I guess I didn't cover it, but whenever I gained ownership of the house, it was in very poor condition. As you can imagine, a 15, 16, 17-year-old don't know what they're doing. And as soon as my oldest sibling turned 18, their mother, who had been divorced from my dad for years, of course, they were minors when my father passed away, so she moved into the home with them. As soon as the oldest one turned 18, Mom was gone. Mom took off to Round Rock and left the 16, 17, and 18-year-old for a couple of years in that house alone. They ripped out all the carpet, tore up the flooring, put trash in places trash does not belong, partially repainted, ripped down wall, but it was just bad. So I will be working on this house until I am probably 92 and pass away also. But right now our biggest thing is probably 80 to 90% of it's cosmetic. So he is currently in the process of putting new sheetrock up in the front parlor. The house had no gas when we moved in. I guess they had a gas leak at some point, and Atmos came out and said, oh, we're going to shut this off so we don't, explode our town. And they never bothered fixing it. We do have gas back on and it's safe, I promise. Don't go telling anybody living here that my house is going to explode. It won't, I promise. The roof. If you drive by, I will apologize in advance. I had giant tarps on the roof because when it rains outside, it rains in my house. So I was trying to keep from having damage. We've had a really hot, still summer, and for some reason, a week or two ago, I decided to get windy. So since I have neglected to put a roof on this thing yet, my tarps are now in my neighbor and my neighbor's yard. Sorry. But you will see a hanging tarp. That's my fault. But the roof is the next thing that needs to be fixed. As you can imagine, I'm guessing $7,000 to $12,000 to put a roof on this monster. But that will be item number 2. Once I make sure it's dried in, then we can start looking at doing more of the cosmetics to it. Did I forget anything? No? He is a craftsman. He works for a company in Holland, builds custom cabinets and furniture. But even he can only do so much. There's only so many hours in a